Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation. The MisFitNation show. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, We would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisfitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to our Thursday after dinner show. It's going to be a good one tonight. We got a great combat veteran coming on the show tonight. And also tonight, I have Lacey from the Tuesday crew joining me to help me out on this. And then him and Cagney will take over the show starting on Sunday for about a week and a half while I take a trip with my wife for our 30th wedding anniversary. So, Jake, thanks for jumping on tonight and hanging out. What have you been up to today, Jake?
Went to work this morning, then came home.
See you
and Mrs. Holland went to the dock again today, and they've kind of worked out a plan, and we got some leg sleeves to go on her legs to kind of pump some of that fluid out of them and maybe get that swelling down a little bit from her surgery. But and we seem to think that's working good. You saw her; she walked past in the camera a while ago, so she's up and walking. So that's a good thing.
She didn't hit you, so I was kind of happy about that too. So.
No, she did not hit me. So
we do have one end of watch tonight to broadcast. It's one at these populate different dates and such as we go through this, and we like to dedicate our shows to those who we lost in line of duty, either Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force characters, Coast Guard, and of course our police and firemen. And tonight we have Agent Davis Giovanni Martinez, Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. His end of watch just populated today was May 31st, 2024. So let's keep Agent Martinez, his family and friends in your thoughts and prayers as we move forward here. Thank you, Angel. So without further ado, let's introduce our next guest, Jake. So our next guest is a motivational speaker, a consultant, certified executive coach who values dedication, service, and excellence. As a decorated combat veteran, he brings a unique perspective gained from his military experience to your organization, empowering you to unleash the untapped potential of your employees. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Loyd Hawkins to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Loyd.
Thanks, Rich. Glad to be here. Thanks,
good
Jake.
evening, Loyd.
Appreciate it.
It's great to have you, and it's great to know that you have a lab there and that you weren't in the Rockasans when you were at Fort Campbell. So you have a lot of pluses going for you right here.
Yeah, I did enjoy my time there.
I bet you did, especially when the time you were here was probably a lot more fun than it is now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Loyd, if you don't mind, tell us a little about yourself. I only gave about your 2 sentences of your bio there.
Sure.
Give us more about you from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Yeah, thank you very much for that intro. So, I joined the Army back in 1984, and the reason I joined the Army was to escape abject poverty. I grew up with a single mother, been married multiple times, and a couple siblings. Never knew my father, never had any male guidance. But I did get that guidance from my Uncle Sam, and I was glad to have it, and I needed it more than anybody. So I went to the recruiter like everybody else does, but because I didn't have a high school diploma, he didn't have a quota to put me in, but he did it without the kind of was hard anyway. And going to the Army, basic training, my drill sergeant said, "Hey, which one of you knuckleheads don't have a high school diploma?" So I said, "Me." And they said, "Go in this room, take a test." And that put me on my way to not only being a great soldier, but being an educated soldier as well. Since during the service, I actually took time to get my undergraduate degree. And then when I got out, I got the GI Bill and got my master's. So I wouldn't have had any of that without the structure of the military, the great leaders above me, and the great people that supported me along the way.
Definitely. I think we both can attest to that too. We both were probably we were Catholic school kids growing up, but we both went different paths from the Catholic doctrine, I guess.
Yes.
Wound up in the military, and we both did our over 20 years, and we still serve our country, but we train on the other side. Now we're those dirty contractors now that train soldiers and get to go home at night.
Yeah, well,
we understand fully.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing for anybody who wants to get a jump start on life, that join the military, learn what you need to learn, and then apply that in your life. And more importantly, share that with other people, because that's what it's all about. And that's what we did in the service as well. Obviously, you guys know very well that if you hold all that stuff internally, you're not going to go as far as if you share it with your troops, your leaders, and your subordinates. So I encourage everybody to either befriend a veteran and listen to him or her, or actually join the military and provide some service back.
Definitely. I would definitely say that. Jake probably has a lot of stories about guys that kept things inside and left without sharing that, and he can share that now.
There's too many of them. Matter of fact, I saw a news report today. I think the number is up to 17 and a half a day that are taking their own lives. And, that's something that we need to get past. Talk to somebody, because I tell you what, I tell people this all the time. I would much rather sit and listen to you talk and vent to me for 3 or 4 hours than I would to go to your funeral.
Absolutely.
And definitely, and Loyd, to your point, I think especially as we age, we get older, we can't take our knowledge to the grave with us. And if we do, it's a waste of the knowledge that we gained. You getting all your education after thinking that you probably wouldn't have got it without Uncle Sam's help. And Uncle Sam kind of pushed you into your education life and getting masters. Me, I'm still pursuing education, going for my doctorate. I make Jake do little studies at work now just to keep his mind going. If we keep growing our mind, it helps us, but we need to share that with the next generation so that they too can share with the people that follow them. So not just our military, but our country can continue to grow and be successful.
Dude and brother, we need it more than anything right now. We need really strong men, strong leaders. And I'm very, very traditional in my role with my wife. I've been married 36 years myself, and she doesn't work. She supports me as a full-time job and more. But I'm very traditional with my male-female roles, and we need that more than ever at this point in our time here in America, at least.
Definitely, and I'd raise one up to you for that one. That's a great comment there, and I'll sip one on that.
Well, I will as well.
Thank you. And Jake's going to join us.
Get the magic elixir.
As you transitioned, when did you start becoming a speaker? When did you decide motivational speaker would be a cool?
Yeah, so I had a bunch of unique experiences throughout the military, so let me back up real quick, Rich. So being raised by a single mother, I had an older brother I never knew about. His name was Gary, and the only reason I knew of him was because my mother wanted to name me Gary, but my father said you can't because I already have a son named Gary. So anyway, I always had this fantasy growing up poor in a trailer park that my older brother was living the life of a secret agent spy, jumping out of airplanes, scuba diving, skydiving, doing all these crazy running and gun and stuff. And then I finally met him, and I realized that it wasn't him. It was me that was doing all that stuff, which made me feel really, really good about myself. But I got to a point in the Army. I got my bachelor's degree. I had a wife and a son, and we adopted 2 children. And I just wasn't making it on E6 pay, staff sergeant pay. I had made the list for sergeant first class, and I think in '97. And I decided to get out even before I got promoted because I just wasn't making enough money. And I felt that going to graduate school would help me there. So, but all that being said, all that gave me, and it gave you guys, and it gave anybody who retired, a PhD in leadership. That's one thing I tell all my civilian counterparts. If there's one unique characteristic about a GI that's retired, at least, is the one sentence: get the job done. That is the most important thing that they bring to the table, regardless if they were an infantryman or a cook. Get the job done. That being said, you're also taught that lead or get out, go up or get out, right? So we all have a PhD in leadership within us if you were retired from the military. So what I try to do is I try to bring that to corporations and men's groups and things of that nature, because you guys very well know, I'm going to say this, it's going to be redundant to you, but maybe not to your listeners, is that there's two types of leadership. There's transformational leadership. Come with me. Everything's going to be all right. We're going to get through this. And transactional leadership, which means if you do this, I'll give you that. Transactional leadership is ephemeral. It'll go away. However, it is a tool to use. But I also teach my consulting clients that I love robust debate. I love consensus building. But once I make the decision as a leader, I want you to 100% support it. Not agree with it. Not say, hey, the old man's full of it, but I'm gonna do it because he's my boss. You have to buy in. So there's not only leadership that's important, but it's also followership. And we all learned that in the military. I went to Ranger School. I went to a bunch of other schools, and they all taught you that. They taught us that as you go up. That spec forward, that specialist is going to have to step up if I get shot, and they better be ready. But how do they get ready? We have to train them. We have to teach them to be ready. We have to teach them to replace us. I bring that to the corporate world as well. So I do a lot of consulting as a full-time job, but I also do motivational speaking and executive counseling. And that's really the focal point of that counseling, is teaching people how to be better leaders, but also teaching resilience. Everybody has a hard time in their life some way or another. But if you don't have that grit or resilience built into you or taught into you, then you're going to flounder when it counts, right? There's fight or flight, but there's also freeze. And we don't want that at all. So I also counsel people to do the hard things, because comfort wants you dead, baby. Comfort is where dreams go to die. But if you challenge yourself and do a little bit every day, a little bit better every day, you might not be where I am, Rich or Jake, but you'll be better than you were yesterday. And I firmly believe that. And obviously you can tell I talk about it with passion, because yes, I do believe it.
I can feel it in the way you're delivering that right there. 2 weeks ago, on Memorial Day weekend, I went to a graduation down in Texas, right outside of the former Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos.
Okay.
A young lady, I consider my niece. She graduated, and her one of the valedictorians got up there. 18-year-old young lady gets up there, and she said exactly what you just said: "Get comfortable being uncomfortable."
Yes.
Yeah, and this is an 18-year-old saying that, and that made my heart just pound. I said, yes, finally, someone from the younger generation is saying the right words. I have hope that someone's going to do the right thing moving forward.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because as you saw in my biography, I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it took me about 10 years to get to that. And one of the things you have to know and have to learn to deal with when you go through that process, if you want to become a black belt, is being uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations. Not panicking, not stressing, relaxing, solving the problem. And again, that's what they teach us in the military as well.
Definitely. Jake can definitely attest to working the problem. How many times do you want to, on a call, Jake, you have to not panic and work that problem, where one bad decision is go or no go?
Hey, you know what? If something bad happens, it's not my problem anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, guys, I also tell everybody this too, and is that there's two rules. If you don't take a life or create a life, you can recover from anything, even if you go to prison. God hope forbid nobody does. And back to the veteran suicide issue, you can't recover from that.
No.
That's one of the things you cannot recover from, right? So again, like you said, Jake, if you're feeling something, talk to somebody. But not only that, we need to be cognizant of looking for those sign signals of stress and trouble within our own ranks as well.
Yes.
And I think that's where we have that shortfall. We as veterans, we tend to think we're all fine. I'm fine. You're fine, because we all serve. We're all hard. We can do this. We're all this letter or that letter, or whatever. But deep inside of us, none of us are all right. I am not all right. You are not all right. Jake is not all right. But it's how we deal with not being all right.
Yeah.
That makes us all right. And we have to learn to talk to each other. And being a man doesn't mean that you have to keep it all inside. That's something when we were in, you were told not to let it out.
Dude,
as a leader, especially. But now, I believe you need to scream at the top of your lungs to let people know, because you can't hide it. No one's a Kreskin to read your mind. They can't just read your mind and say, "Hey, I know what's wrong with you. I walked by you. I can smell caramel coming off of you. You're worried about something."
Yeah,
no, it doesn't happen.
Well, along those lines, I just got through the VA process for my disability, and I was a paratrooper in the Army. Obviously, you saw that in my bio. And the fact of the matter is, I have serious issues with my back and my legs. I'm going to get my knee replaced here in a few months, but I waited 25 years before I even filed because I didn't want to look like a sissy.
Yep.
There was I have friends. I lost friends. I have friends who lost their legs, arms, and fingers, sight. And so I thought, why, my back hurts. So what? That's nothing compared to what they did. And I really felt that I didn't want to take away any resources from them. Then somebody told me, knucklehead, that's not what it's about, and you did it. So I encourage everybody who is in the military to seek out those resources. The worst you can hear is no, but you don't get an answer to the question you don't ask.
Exactly. And we just witnessed that in our office. We witnessed that with our former site lead. He sat on his haunches forever as a retired sapper, and he did not go get his VA benefits because he thought it was for other people that were really hurt bad or without legs and such. Yeah. So he lost a lot of time, but now he's finally 100%. And he was able to step back and say, I don't have to do all the stuff I'm doing. I can sit back and enjoy life.
And let me jump in. I think a lot of that, and if you look at the time that the three of us joined the military, what happened if you're a young PFC and you go to your squad leader and you say, hey, Sarge, I need to go to sick call. What was the first words out of his mouth?
You better be dead.
You pussy. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Absolutely right.
Drink some water, change your socks.
Dude, literally, guys, I've taken so much Motrin. I have a thing called Barrett's esophagus, where the tissue in your esophagus turns into your stomach tissue, which is precancerous. I don't have cancer, but that's from taking Ranger candy all my life. I still do it today. They tell me not to. I can't help it. Yeah.
18 to 800 milligrams they'd give us. It was amazing candy, and it took, after a while, like when I got wounded in Afghanistan, it didn't even work for me because my body was so used to it. I had to move up to naproxen. So I guess that's the next level of evilness.
Exactly. Man, but again, I would say that, don't be embarrassed by it, and don't feel like you didn't deserve it. If you served in the military, if you were in there for one tour or your entire career, you did something that most people in the country, I think maybe 95% or 98% didn't do. Sign that check to say that you'll do what you need to do to make it happen. And whether you're a cook or whether you're special forces, it takes the entire team to be successful. So don't diminish yourself. Don't diminish yourself or your service, and get the benefits you deserve.
Definitely.
Yes.
Jake, you had something?
Yeah. You brought up team, and as long as everybody does their job, the mission gets accomplished. When you go out and talk to the corporate world, because that is one thing that the military taught us, is how to work together as a team. Everybody has their function. How do you get that across to a group of individuals working in an office setting on a project? How do you get that across to them?
Yeah, so you really got to talk about what the most motivation is of the individual, right? So you can't go in there, especially in a corporate world, with the mandate, you will do what I tell you because I'm your boss. I see myself as a servant leader, and I project that to my people. The fact of the matter is, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to make you successful. So you got to find those levers, Jake, that will motivate them, right? The definition of a leader is the art of influencing someone to do something that they don't want to do without them knowing it, or something of that nature. And really, the fact of the matter is, communication is key. And what I really mean by that is, if I'm talking to a subordinate or a leader or anyone else, and they don't understand what I said, whose fault is that? It's my fault. Mm-hmm. So I take extreme ownership of that, and I use that to ensure that either they're trained enough, or they're educated enough, or they're communicated to enough to do the job. Now, the fact of the matter is that we all see there will be some people who will not want to be a team player at all. And there's a couple things you can do there. You can exit them from your organization, or you can put them in a role that's so specific that they only want to do that one thing. And that's one of the things I struggled with when I got out of the Army, is that it was an upper out mentality. But I have people on my team in the civilian world that said, hey, I just want to do my job. That's it. That was my fault for not being able to recognize that and accept that. So I have those kind of conversations with them because everyone doesn't want to be a leader. Literally, I had a call today with a guy who told me, he said, hey, Loyd, I'm more of a consigliere. I'm not a leader. I have a hard time with conflict. I have a hard time with confrontation. I said, Rich, that's fine, dude. We will use you in that role as a consigliere. We don't need to put you in a role that you're not comfortable with. And frankly, Jake and Rich, that's not the Army way. The Army way is you're going to do what it takes to get the job done. I don't care who it is. But again, if you don't want those people to exit your organization and are valuable, you got to find roles that fit their nature, fit their character, and fit their skill sets and ability. And that's what I try to bring to the leadership talk to make sure the leaders understand that it doesn't matter what you want. What matters is getting the job done, giving them the opportunity to succeed, giving them the task, and let them complete that. Now, in our world, in our old world, it was, hey, you do it the way I tell you to do it because I know what I'm doing. There's a shift in that when you become a civilian. It's that I want to give you the tasks, conditions, and standards. Sound familiar? And then let you figure out how to get it done. Now, I'll course correct you on the way and make sure that you're going through the commander's intent. However, it's your job and your ownership to make sure it works. And if you do that right, you'll grow. And if you don't, we'll help you grow.
Okay.
Definitely. That's the best way to put it right there. You said earlier, lead, follow, get out the way. Now you said, from our side, it was do it or I'm going to go off on you, or on their side, here's your task, condition, standards, get it done your way. And I think that's the thing that's hard for a lot of military when they go to the corporate side, to understand that most people on the corporate side grew up in that side. And when they're given a task, it has this little thing next to it saying number of hours to get done. So if it has a task that says 40 hours, I got all week to do this. I'm not going to do it today. An hour or two today, do this tomorrow. Yeah, I know I can get it done really quick, but then they'll give me something else.
Yeah.
So have you run into that in any of these corporate situations where leadership's saying, how do I get them motivated to do more than I'm asking?
Yeah. So again, there's going to be a broad spectrum of people you work with in the civilian world, and a lot of times, a lot of people are going to get left behind, and they're happy about that. But I use a type of tool called the +1 mentality. So in my business, there is no 40-hour work week. You're working all the time. And it's sporadic. I'm not going to work 8 hours a day, but I'm going to work 4 hours on Saturday. Regardless of that, as a consulting in a consulting firm, you give people +1s. You say, here's your tasks and here's what you're going to pay for. But if you want to accelerate, you want a larger bonus, you want to move up the food chain, you want to go to better schools, you want to have better assignments, I want you to do a +1. And that +1 could be creating documentation. It could be leading a team. It could be selling additional work and services. But in order to go above and beyond table stakes, you got to have a +1 or a +2. And then you'll see how many people really, really wanted to either just sit where they are and get paid, or really, really want to stretch their skill sets. And again, if they don't want to do a +1, that's fine. But don't come discussing to me why you didn't get promoted, why you didn't get a larger bonus, because I'm going to reward. It's all about carrot and stick. We're going to reward people who want to excel.
Definitely rewarding. And that's the thing, that a lot of like we were talking earlier about the generational gap now, from where our generation was to what the generation is now. And it's the participation trophies that were out there that kind of ruined a lot of people's mentality. If I just do something, I'm going to get something.
Yeah.
So to do, like you said, the +1, do something a little more above and beyond, then you'll get that reward. And if we start to instill that in them at a young age, maybe start teaching tech stuff in high school again, make them get their hands dirty so they learn a different skill besides just texting each other in class. It'd be amazing to see them get out of high school, go to something that's going to help them. So either the service, a trade school, or college, or right to work, and maybe excel in their lives as well.
Absolutely. I'm obviously an educated man. I have a master's in business, but I wasn't always that way. Growing up poor, I had to change my own brakes. I remember I drove up to a school at Fort Benjamin Harrison, and my clutch went out on my Chevy S10 pickup truck, so I had to manually shift it the entire way based on RPMs. But at the craft shop after class, me and my friend went over. We dropped the tranny. We pulled on the flywheel. We put on a new clutch and put it back together. Didn't have to pay a dime for it except for the actual parts, right? But I wouldn't have known how to do that today in today's society. But I had to do it because the necessity is the mother of invention. So these kids don't really understand that nowadays, and that's fine. But you know whose fault that is? Our fault for not teaching them that. I always tell my wife, we talk about this. My son has the disadvantage of never being disadvantaged, right? So there's something to say about having that grit and resilience. And the way you build that is do hard stuff, lift heavy stuff, do hard things, and don't be afraid of that. And frankly, guys, that's what I do in my life at all time. I'm 58. I got a lot more sand in the bottom of my hourglass than I do the top, but I still strive to do hard things. I was at Alcatraz on a tour with my wife a few years ago, and I was sitting there on the rock, and I was looking over San Francisco. I said, I can make that swim. My wife said to me, "Oh, can you?" So I said, "Yes, I can." So I started training. A couple years later, I had an arm injury, but a couple years later, I dove in that 61-degree tea-colored water, and it was the most excruciating hour and a half of my life. I could almost not walk when I got out of the water, but I made it. I achieved it, and I trained for it. And again, who cares? But I care. It made me stronger. So
yeah. You challenged yourself and you did it. You took that challenge and accepted it.
Absolutely, dude. And I encourage everybody to do that kind of stuff. Go rock climbing. Do whatever you want to do. Go bowling. But do something you're not comfortable with. Learn how to play the guitar. I'm a very physical person myself, so I want physical activity. But, do something, learn a new language. But don't sit on your ass reading Facebook or Instagram all day.
That will kill you.
I will tell you this too, Rich and Jake. I'm big on this, dude. You see Hard to Kill Hartman in the background.
Yes.
I always want to be the hardest person in the room to kill. And what I mean by that is that one day, and I tell everybody this, one day it's going to happen. Your body's going to call on you to save yourself, to save your wife, to save your son, to save your daughter, to save a stranger. Are you going to say, well, maybe I'll start training tomorrow? Well, guess what? Tomorrow's too late. Start training today. And then you won't be in that situation. But it's going to happen. It happens to everybody. And you want to tell somebody, hey, my wife drowned because I couldn't swim?
Yes. That'd be a horrible thing to have to tell them. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So, and have to live with that.
Yeah, so get off your ass and start training. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. And one of the things I've taken out of my vocabulary a long time ago was I don't have time. Everybody has the same amount of time. I say it's not a priority in my life at this point. Maybe that's the same thing. But if you say you don't have enough time, you're a liar. We all have the same amount of time.
Yes.
Jake,
yeah, I'm going to pop a question up here from ABD69OH on Google. How do I change a generational culture on only me at my workplace and turn it into we?
That's a great question. The first thing is setting the example, right? So a lot of people aren't going to follow what you do, but they're going to see you. They're going to look at you, and they're going to see what you're doing. And if you're not doing what you want them to do, they're not going to do it either. Secondarily, challenge people. Politely, tactfully, but challenge people. An organization exists for one thing, and that's to make money. And if they make money, you'll make money. And everybody wants to make more money. It depends on how much it is, depends on how much effort it takes to get there. But in order to change that culture, you got to lead by example. I know that's easy to say, maybe cliche, but it's the absolute truth. And you can't shame people. You got to find out what motivates them, and you got to build a cohort within your organization. Now, your leaders may not want you to do that. Your leaders may want it to be status quo, and that's fine as well. But as we know, Rich and Jake, there's a difference between being a formal leader, which means you have the title, and being an informal leader, which means you have influence. So yes. Always influence and always challenge. But more importantly, set the example.
Okay.
I think Steve said this on here just before that question popped in. Said in retail, the best motivation is work with them. Don't just say do and sit in an office.
Okay, a little story there, right? When I was in fifth group, I came into my office one time, and one of my sergeants was sitting there studying his textbook for class that evening, right? So I said to him, "Hey, Sarge, where's your team?" He said, well, they're out there at the, out there in the motor pool doing something on one of the rigs, right? I said, well, why aren't you out there with them? He said, I'm studying. I said, well, how are you leading them sitting here in the office? And then we had a significant emotional event, which you can't do in the civilian world. We had a significant emotional event. He wasn't happy at the end of it, but he wasn't in my office anymore. He was out there in the motor pool with his team leading.
And hopefully he had his textbook attached to him.
Or attached in him.
When you're operational special forces, things can be very loose, very informal. But you cannot lead from the rear. You have to lead from the front. And I think that the comment encapsulated that very well.
It definitely does. And I think that he's been doing that probably the last 30 plus years, I think, in retail, different areas of retail, of course.
Yeah.
He's seen a lot at that time. And so
about it too, dude. In my corporate world, everyone's college educated. Everybody is goal oriented, and they have tasks that are fairly defined. But what do you do with the person who's just there for a paycheck, right? I just wants to go to school. You got to understand that you can't make them do what you want to do. If they're just there to get a paycheck, hey, I'm just here working at XYZ, you name it. I'm going to school at night. This isn't my career. Understand that. Let them do what they need to do. Utilize them for what they want to give you, and then let them move on. Because one of the hallmarks of being a great leader is having your people leave you to be more successful.
Yes. I think that's a champion of a leader right there. If for all of us, as we left the military, those who we were charged with leading and mentoring, it brings joy to us to see them advance beyond where we were.
100%.
Yeah, and build the ripples down the line so that leadership keeps going and going.
Yeah, absolutely. You want your people to exceed you, just like you want your children to be better.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and I tell you, one of the things that gets me is when I have former soldiers reach out to me, and especially the ones if they're here at Fort Campbell, I'll get an email or a phone call. Hey Jake, I'm getting promoted. This day, could you come be there? And that right there is chest kind of swells a little bit.
That's a testament to your fellowship, leadership, and really your character, dude. It really, really is. And I take that stuff so seriously. When somebody says, "Hey, come pin this on me," or come be at my promotion, that is an honor to me. And I think it'll be an honor to you gentlemen as well. And I don't take it lightly at all.
It's an amazing accomplishment. They think they're doing it just so that we can see the pride in them, but we're more proud of them than they can ever see. And inside, outside. And when you get back in the car, Jake usually cries in the car. He has to have 2 towels and stuff. And he has to watch Hurt Locker for 3 hours after that.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, followed by the Rock, right, Rich?
Yes, definitely.
There's no shame in that whatsoever, brother.
That is a problem I witnessed with a recruiter when my daughter was thinking of enlisting. They only pushed to join so she could get free school. That isn't what it's all about, and it turned him off.
Yeah, that's understandable, right? But you got to realize that everybody doesn't have the same motivation we do. Right. If a person, first of all, let's get them in the military, regardless of what the reason is. Put some education around them in a military style. Let them taste what it is, and they can change their minds and maybe become a career soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine. But there's no shame in a transactional relationship that we talked about earlier. I'm going to join the military, but in exchange, you're going to pay for my college. So this gentleman who just wrote that in, no offense, but you're projecting your values on your daughter and that recruiter. That recruiter has one goal in mind. That's to sell the Army. That's it. At all costs, by the way. And we all have heard all those stories. So I'm not going to blame him. But just imagine if your daughter goes in the Army or Air Force, Marines, or Navy for 4 years, gets the GI Bill, gets out, and gets a great degree where she can help other people. So she's serving as well. And by the way, let me make this very clear to everyone who's listening, Rich and Jake. You don't have to wear a uniform to have honor or to be a strong man or a strong woman in society. What you do is you have to step up. So I can understand why that would turn you off. It probably turned me off a little bit as well. but I also want my daughter to go to college free of charge, or the $1,200 for the GI Bill, whatever it is.
At that point, they didn't have to pay no more. It's just as soon as you just successfully complete basic training, I believe, or AIT, it's free. So,
they don't take $100 out of your check anymore?
No, sir.
Oh, man, I got screwed.
I had the VEEP, the Veterans Education Program. It was like $8,000 total. And then they went to the GI Bill, and I converted to that. And it's a great program. And you know what? If you're a struggling person out there, you don't have any really guidance, or you're kind of listless with what you want to do, the military is a great way to get direction and also get those benefits, but also join a cadre and a companionship like no other. I love jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for a long time, and that's the only place I've ever found the camaraderie I had when I was in the military. Because you know what? In the military, you some of the guys you hate in your unit. You hate them, but you will die for them, and you know they'll die for you. And at the end of the day, you might hate what they do, but you love their soul.
And that's why I loved when they brought combatives into the military. So those dudes and dudettes that you didn't like, you can roll on the mat with them and get a lot of that anger out legally without lining up in front of another desk with your hands behind your back. So you can do that on the mat and knock that stuff out and get some of that aggression out. And to your point on education, pre 9/11, so like when you got out in the late 90s, so I'd say 96 to probably 2000, that was the biggest push to get people into the military, because we did that downsize when Clinton came to office. And then now they're trying to build again. They were trying to build up after that. And now how do we get kids to join when there's other stuff out there that's off from education? So a lot of those people who joined from, say, 96 to 2000, they joined for college money. 9/11 happened, and they said, oh, no, I got to go to war now. It was a weird deal.
Yeah, at the end of the day, brother, that's what it's all about. The college, the mess hall, the guaranteed benefits. None of that matters when it's time when that balloon goes up, right? Because it's time to punch in and start doing your job.
Yeah, definitely. And it shocked a lot of them. And a lot of them, Jake definitely witnessed it. And they fell to the wayside and got out. So
Yes.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I hated about the military, but I loved every minute of it. And again, I'm 100% disabled for my knees and my back. And people ask me, hey, knowing what you know now about how disabled you are, and of course I can walk. That doesn't mean you're in a wheelchair, but knowing what the Army did to your body, would you do it again? I said, every damn minute of it, baby.
Right on.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot from the young Joes and Josephines that come to our class. Would you do this again? Yeah, why not? It's the best job in the world.
If they'd let me put on a uniform right now,
I went out right before 9/11, and I was dying to get back in, and I didn't do it, but because I was in graduate school, but it was killing me. And I always tell people that they used to pay me $155 a month to jump out of airplanes. That was money well wasted. I'd have done it free. I'd have paid them.
Well, hey, I tell you what, you can have that. Okay, that's something that I never did need to do.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. And it was a really special time in my life. The best school I ever went to, guys, and I want your opinion on this, is the best school I ever went to. I went to Sears School in 96, 95, and 1995, and that I look back on it fondly, but it was one of the wild, most interesting experiences of my life. Yeah.
I heard it's a good weight loss program.
Definitely a weight loss program.
I was king already, but
and back then, again, that's a time thing too, because back then they got to do a lot more to you back then than they do now.
I went to Africa with an SF team out of Fort Campbell in the mid 90s, and their doc had just got out of Sears School, and he was big anyway, pumped a lot of iron. He was huge. He goes, man, I went to Sears School and I lost 45 pounds. And I'm like, dude, you still weigh 275. How big were you?
We need to tape your ass, put you on a damn tape test. Yeah, that was fun, dude. And I loved every minute of it. It was such a I'm 58, so it was only 15 years of my life. But again, maybe I'm being nostalgic, but I did love it. And it gave me so much. A poor white trash, a straight out trailer park guy from Tallahassee, Florida. It really, really changed my life. And it changed my life and my family generationally, So I would encourage anybody, give it a try. Give it 4 years or whatever they make you realist for nowadays. But it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor, and it will separate you and differentiate you from every other person on the planet.
Definitely. And like you said earlier, it is probably the best leadership PhD course you can ever take, because you're going to learn from generations above you. You learn from your peers, and you learn from dudes and dudettes that are under you that have leadership skills that can show you more, and you grow as you go through your 4 years, 8 years, whatever, how many years you actually wind up doing.
Exactly. Rich, you just made a really good point about people underneath you, right? And a lot of times as managers, we think, hey, I'm a manager. I came up through the ranks, so I know what I'm doing. You can learn from everybody. So you should never be so arrogant that you think you know everything. And I'll tell you, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, dude. I don't need to be there, right? I want to be surrounded by people who are a lot smarter than me and a lot more aggressive than I am, who could teach me something. Because why would you not want to learn anymore? Why would you want to? Yeah, so if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. And you can learn from the lowest private or the brand new analyst all the way to the managing director or general. You absolutely can. Not only that, you need to have that mindset, because if you don't, you're going to shut yourself off and you're going to miss something.
Yes.
100%.
You'll definitely miss them. So, Lloyd, we talked about a lot of things tonight, a lot of things you've done and are doing. I have a question on jiu-jitsu. What's your best moment ever on the mat and your worst moment ever on the mat?
I got a lot of bad ones. They say in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, either you're winning or you're learning, right? Yeah. I learned a lot. The best moment, the best personal moment, I've competed in many tournaments and I won a few of them, and those are probably the best moments. Actually, the best moment is when I got that black belt tied around my waist 2 years ago, because it took me 10 years to get there. And that's about average. I wasn't the most athletic, and I wasn't the least athletic. It was about average. And then when my professor tied that around my waist, that was a pinnacle of a long journey that's still continuing. The worst moments, a ton of them. People, I've broken ribs. I've dislocated my shoulder. My knees are bad. But again, I loved every minute because I love to struggle. And there's a thing about jiu-jitsu. There's one rule in jiu-jitsu. One, you can't quit. You're going to be somewhere in 10 years. Why not be a black belt too?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it really teaches you a lot of humility, because I'm 6'3", I'm about 190 pounds. So I'm a somewhat large guy. And I've had young 15-year-old women choke me out. So, so it can happen to anybody. I encourage everyone to try it. And again, not only just for learning the self-defense aspect, but doing something hard that you're not used to doing.
Definitely. I had another guest on who went through about the same length of journey as you to get to his black belt. He said the same thing. He got in there, and it was a 14-year-old boy. He looked over at him. They matched him up. He said, "I got this kid." And the kid tapped him out 7 times in a row. And he finally sat back and said, "Maybe I need to watch this kid."
There's two kind of people in the world that he's like, "Hey, I just got submitted by a 14-year-old girl. I never want to go through that again. So I'm going to quit." Or the other person's, "Hey, that was amazing. I need to learn that." Yeah.
What are they doing to me?
I've also done Muay Thai and wrestling and striking. And there's two people in when you start talking about striking, two kind of people in the world as well. So, bam! Please don't ever do that again. I don't like that. Another guy, which the way I am and my son is I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker. So yeah. So one guy's going to make it, one guy's not going to make it.
Exactly. I mean, that's what it's all about. Especially like you said earlier, you got to be prepared for all things that come. Looking behind you, looks like you have a go bag on your wall as well, besides the Hard to Kill Hawkman there. So it looks like you're ready for all things that are going to happen.
I mean, we can always be more ready, but I do try. I do my best.
As long as you're prepared as much as you know right now, you're good to go. You can adapt and overcome when things happen, when the zombie apocalypse comes to full tilt.
That's right.
which might be any day now. So
Yes.
So Loyd, as I said earlier, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about a lot of things on the show all the time, and we like to have our guests give 3 bits of advice to the audience, to the Misfit Nation, on how they can be better humans as they move forward. What would be 3 things you could tell them to be better humans?
Absolutely. First thing would be is to always control your ego. I've struggled with that in the past. Okay. I am not the most important person in the world. I am to myself, but I must recognize that other people have needs, wants, and desires that are conflicting to mine or complementary to mine. So control your ego, and that'll make you a better person for sure. Second thing is be a lifelong learner. Always struggle to learn and strive and be better. It doesn't matter what it's in. Be interested. Don't be interesting. Be interested, and then you will be interesting. And the third one, this is gonna be wild. Stretch your body. Your body, dude. If I'd known that my body would wear out on me like it is now, and I'm still in pretty decent shape, I would have done much better. I've been more careful. But stretch and take care of your body, eat well. So you combine those 3 things, you'll be stronger mentally, you'll be stronger physically, and you'll be a more admirable and decent human being because you won't have the ego. Because when you take ego out, you take the need to get credit out. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who gets credit. It matters the job that gets done. So ego, lifelong learner, and take care of your body.
Great advice right there. Jake, do you have any final thought?
No, that's words to live by. I can attest to the stretching.
It made me think of Zombieland, cardio, stretching, all Zombieland.
You got to do your cardio.
Do cardio and stretch, so you limber up. How do people get in contact with you, Loyd?
Pardon me?
How does someone get in contact with you to maybe on their show or whatever?
So if you want, if you're interested in my story, go to Amazon.com and just type it straight out of the trailer park. In the back of it, it'll have my email address in here somewhere, wherever it's in here. And otherwise, you can reach me at Loyd Hawkins, one word, just like my name there's on the screen, at KenaiBusinessSolutions.com, right below there. So reach out to me. It doesn't have to be related to motivational speaking or executive consulting. If you just want to say, hey, Loyd, what's your opinion on this? Or, hey, I have a question for you. Or, hey, I'd like to get to know you. I'm fine with that. So it doesn't have to be about money. It's all about fellowship and giving back for me at this point.
Outstanding. And Jake, you were about to say something. I cut you off
there. You know me. I done forgot it.
There's that TBI.
Yes.
Loyd, again, thank you for hanging out with us tonight on this Thursday. Misfit Nation, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Like I said, Jake and Steve, Cagney, and Lacey will be taking over the mic for the next 4 shows in a row. So give them some grace, give them some love, and tune in. Have a great time with them.
Guys, I got so much pleasure out of this. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be your guest.
Thank you. It was great. It was great talking with you, Loyd.
All right, boys.
Have a good one. Cheers.
Thank you.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.